Another episode here of Roleplay Reels. Today we're talking with the man who has too many characters over time for me to even list. So I'm just going to throw this right over to him. Goob, start listing.
Well, you may know me as, formally, rest in peace, Buckleby. Modern day, you probably know me as Fraser Young or Sebastian Bourbon, the EMS. But then I do have two cheeky characters that I just periodically play. Some of you have been wondering who's been running around the city playing as Mr. Brown. That would be me, Ryan KD. And then I have my kind of just goofy cop who only comes around to just basically be entertainment when at events or any cases that are going on in the city. Wayne Phillips. Um, I have way more than that, but it's just too many to list. It's just been a wild ride. I just create characters and then roll with the punches when they dry up. Then I come up with new ones.
So,
But
looking at my screen in front of me with all these characters, what about Gary Buckleby?
well, Gary Buckleby. Well, I'll put it this way: I wasn't intending to be a cop when I first made him. It was more or less just there was a cool funny ped that was in NoPixel that we had edited, uh, and skills removed a bunch of stuff, so it was a more unique character, not who you might know as Cornwood. But basically, it started off as that. I just wanted to give cop a try, and I was asked to give cop a try because um, at the time we were smaller PD. We were still growing in the server. We didn't have quite the numbers that we used to, but I figured I would give it a try, and I ended up falling in love with it. Granted, PD has changed over the little while. Back then, it was kind of simplistic. Now it's evolved to what it is now, and I think it is pretty good. But basically, it was just a funny looking cop who I would just run around as and just kind of be myself as Goob and not really have to think much about it. I could just say what I wanted to say and not have to think too hard about what to come up with and just roll with the punches. Um, it was kind of funny because I walked in and made one of the biggest power moves of the city, I think. My first day only having 8 grand to my name, riding along with Officer Carter, also known as Skills. We went to Burger Shot, and I had walked in and asked to buy the entire counter, whatever was in the back, and it totaled about to $32,000 worth of food. And that just became kind of the rhythm was I would stock up on so much food, and my patrol route was from Burger Shot to Pizza This, then hang out at both and just patrol back and forth. And that was basically Buckleby. And then whenever crime would come up, it would be basically just I would be the laughing stock of the PD. A lot of people would come and make fun of me, make fun of how I looked, but it was all part of the game of it. And then I feel like it just brings like a I don't know how to put it, a face to the PD, not like the face, but back then everybody knew who I was almost immediately because I wasn't that standard looking cop. Because all I love using is PEDs. For those who don't know what PEDs are, they're like basically pre-made models for GTA 5 who were either used in the story mode or used just as models to walk around the city. I don't know what it is that draws me to them. I think it's just how unique they are and just how limited clothing options because I'm rather picky. But for Buckleby, I think he had like 5 different shirts and like a couple hats, but they had to add some things to it. Like what you can see in this photo, there was the I called it the sting operation, where I could stand on a corner and then see if I can catch somebody trying to sell drugs down at Grove. That was kind of fun. We set up sting operations all the time, dressed up like we were locals and walked around to try and catch criminals. Um, he's been involved in I don't know how many different stories that went down. I think the main one that ended up in his death was most definitely my favorite is the Otis episodes. It originally started, funny enough, was I was responding to a call that Uncivil Alpha, who some of you might know as Gideon Otis, he had started shooting at cops and running up the mountain. When I arrived there, I didn't see where he was or anything. And so I went to see the downed officer who was out in the middle of the woods. And lo and behold, I see this little white, like what he used to wear was a tank top, run from a bush to bush. And I just knew right then and there to start shooting. I ended up downing him, and then it kind of rolled from there. He had permid. I questioned it, but I just went with it and I said I didn't have a clear shot. I went to shoot for the gun in his hand, but ended up shooting him in the chest and killing him. And then I didn't think it was going to go anywhere. Then lo and behold, a couple months later, I'd say a month or two later, um, I see ghosty things, Rat Parade, and Uncivil Alpha come back with Otis family members to try and figure out what happened to Gideon. It was a wild ride. So many like ups and downs of the story and how Buckleby had progressed to get to where he was, making the friends that he had. Um, Ultimately, it came down to uh, just his fate coming to an end, just how it played out. It was unexpected for those who haven't watched the video. I most definitely recommend checking it out. Uh, it's it was a tearjerker letting Buckleby go, but it made sense about how he went. I don't want to spoil the video because if those who are interested, it's really good. But it ends up with Buckleby dead and permed. It just played out that way, and it just felt right at the time. And I knew the story would only make sense if it was like that because of what happens in the video. And I'm not going to spoil anymore.
Yeah, if you want to check out that video, you can find it in Rat Parade's YouTube channel. So, like you said, you use a lot of PEDs. One of your characters who is not a PED is Sebastian Bourbon. Tell us a little bit about Sebastian. He seems to have, he's one of those, I think, very divisive characters in the city that people either love or hate.
It kind of I don't know where it came out of, but after I had permed Buckleby when I was maining him, and it felt like almost a full-time job when I was playing Buckleby. It was about 3 months, 40 hours a week playing Buckleby. So losing a main, just really didn't know what to do. And at the time, I had dropped my current main, Fraser Young, because I ran out of story with him and just didn't know where to go once I picked up full time PDRP. And so at that time, I had permed, and then I messaged Ghosty Things, who was in the previous episode, uh, to basically make a character with me that we could go do crime because she hadn't done any of that kind of stuff because it didn't make sense for Debbie too, because Debbie's not a outgoing person to want to rob a bank or want to rob the jewelry store or rob a liquor store for that sake for just a couple $100. So we wanted to make these snobby characters that either you loved us because you hated us so much that it just brought life to something and just poke our nose into crime and see what we could get up to. It was a slow roll at the start, but it easily and rapidly picked up to either you loved us or you hated us. Um, we had good moments with James Burt and how he hated us, and we kicked it off from there. So originally they were criminals, but we never got caught. We did, I believe, two stores and we did like corner selling and whatnot. But we had gotten away every time. But what shocks me to this day is when Barton had read out my license plate because I used my own vehicle to get away from those stores. Um, she didn't put 2 and 2 together when we had started EMS from a long time ago, so it was just really funny. But, we lost direction of where we wanted these characters to go after doing, like, certain crimes and having fun with them, but I don't know what it is about making a new character, having people not know who it is, because usually, I don't do the speaking just so I can hide my identity as long as I can with my new characters, or I'll throw a voice changer on. But, we wound up wanting to play EMS because we wanted to RP, um, within kind of a different community where you can interact and not be negative, with people. Like, yeah, we're snobby and whatnot, but it's an interesting take. You can RP with the police and have them as your friends, but you can still tease them and joke around with them. But it's almost like you're working together as a collective group, but you're not out there catching the criminals. You're more just there as like their friends because a lot of people either don't like the police or refuse to be around them because either they have illegal stuff or they just simply don't want to get caught with anything in case they do the wrong move. So role playing with the PD as EMS has just really, really made EMS a lot of fun. And although some people might think EMS is rather boring, we wanted to bring some character to it where you don't usually think of a doctor to be a dick or be snobby with you. But it was just an interesting take that we could provide, and it almost forced you to interact with us if you ever had to come to Pillbox. It's not like we had to go out seeking people, they always come to us. Um, so this whole time it's been so interesting, and we encourage people to join EMS because it's actually a lot of fun if you make it fun. I know it may seem kind of boring that you're just treating people, but if you throw little twists into stories and get involved within the community, it makes it a lot of fun.
So we've been talking about a lot of your characters here, but who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself, whatever you want to share.
Well, I'm Goob. I'm 21 years old, Canadian. Um, a lot of people pick that up because the way I say outhouse and anything with an OU, it's rather funny within the community. But I've been a senior moderator within Top Shelf pretty well since the get go. We're approaching 1 year now, and it's been a long and eventful journey. Uh, it's kind of funny how we got here. Um, Meeting all the people who I am a part of staff with or play with. I think I can name almost 30% or 40% of the community just from coming from past cities that we've played in. But I personally would have never expected to be here today. But I'd say I'm a gamer. I've played games for ages now. Uh, I never expected myself to get into GTA roleplay. It wasn't like something that I picked up wanting to watch like No Pixel or whatnot. It was just asked upon me to say, "Hey, from a friend, did you want to try a new twist on GTA 5 since I have played GTA 5 for geez, ever since it came out and moved to PC, and as soon as 5M came out, I was almost instantly in it, and it's been a crazy ride just of gaming and finding a community that I enjoy so much and love being around, and just getting here is kind of wild.
Had you previously done any kind of RP?
Well, just growing up, I had a group of friends who would meet every Thursday basically to play Dungeons and Dragons. It's just a staple RPG, but I hadn't really gotten into role playing in it, like playing a character because I was just young. I didn't understand it. I was just playing the game for how it was. But I actually had a cousin who was into like theatrical arts, and he just started putting the twist that it's not him playing, it's somebody else, and it kind of just set that tone that I can play something that isn't me and just enjoy it. Like I can make stuff up that isn't true about me and play someone who isn't me. and it's just been a lot of fun. Uh, I definitely would encourage people to get into this type of, I don't know what you would call it, like genre of just role playing something that you aren't and having fun with it via if it's a tabletop game, whatever the setting be, just creating a different character pretty well other than yourself and being able to uh, have ideals for that character, aspirations for that character, and like thoughts about how you think they would react. It's just been a lot of fun. Um, and those who are listening to this, if you have any friends, I definitely recommend uh, getting them into RP. It's very enjoyable.
So you mentioned that you're a senior moderator on Top Shelf. What exactly is that, and how did you get to be in that position?
Well, um, I don't see it as like a title or ranking. It was more or less just given to me way back when we were just starting. But it originally started out that I was playing on a server in the past with the founders, who you know as Sparky, Skills, Chuck, and Drug. And then there's a bunch of others like John Burt, um, oh geez, I could name 30% of the community right now who I came from a past with. But one day it just reached out to me after being out of RP for almost, I'd say, 6 months to 8 months of our old server shutting down and everybody parting ways. That Chuck had reached out to me and he said, "Hey, man, we're going to open up a city. We don't know what we're getting into. We want to see what we can do and try and have fun like old times again." And then that's what kind of kicked it off. I've never really moderated anything or been staff for anything, but um, it's different. It's nice. I don't mind it one bit, and it's a community that I can say that I enjoy and that I love being a part of. And each and every one of you has just improved this community more and more. And I'm encouraging and looking forward to the future of Top Shelf.
Well, Goob, thank you for coming on for this episode. Kind of out of the blue, we just kind of you just kind of reached out and said, "Hey, I got some holes to fill in and some stories from some previous episodes," and I'm like, "Well, let's just do it." So thank you again for joining me, and we'll see you next week on Roleplay Reels.